But first, I want to start with the question mark on the D line. Rousseau is probably ingrained as your left end. You have Ed Oliver at the 3 tech. You have Daquan Jones at the 1 tech. The real question, and I know part of this is sort of watered down by the fact that the Buffalo Bills do utilize a rotation, but who's the starter opposite Gregory Rousseau? Who's the bookend? Who is the right end for the Buffalo Bills defense this year? Is it going to be Von Miller? Is it going to be Dwayne Smoot? Or is it going to be AJ Epinesa? What do you think about who starts at right end for the Buffalo Bills this year?
For me, it's AJ Epinesa right now. Should be the starter, in my opinion. The Bills brought him back on that pretty decent contract. He maybe could have got more money elsewhere, but the Bills brought him back, I think, knowing that they had to have some kind of insurance against Von Miller. Yes, Dwayne Smoot, you signed with all those void years, and he's probably going to be on the team. But to me, AJ Epinesa has to be the first crack at the right end. That's where he played most of his snaps last year. If you look at PFF snap breakdown, most of his snaps that he played were at the right end. And it again allows you to kind of be in a situation where, look, Von Miller, we don't know what we're going to get from him. In his early years in his career, he was a good run defender. He was the complete player. But right now, you're just hoping to get pass rush pop out of Von Miller. I don't think you really want to trust Von Miller on early downs. So to me, I slide AJ Epinesa in there and have Von Miller be your kind of third down package for pass rush, assuming he's got some pop left. So AJ Epinesa is my vote.
Yeah, I'm personally, and we mentioned it at the top of the show, I'm personally buying all the Gregory Rousseau and AJ Epinesa stock that I can. I think these guys are both going to be workhorses for the Buffalo Bills. I think they're going to see a lot of early down work for the Buffalo Bills in 2024. I think they're each sort of coming into their own. They're each reaching their peak at the same time, and I think it's all going to sort of come together in the 2024 season for the two of these guys. So I'm with you with AJ Epinesa. So that gives us Rousseau, Oliver, Jones, and Epinesa left to right. So how is this rotation going to shape out after it? To me, I think on the edge, and we'll skip over the D-line rotation because that's pretty chalk with Oliver, Jones, Johnson, Carter, and then maybe Williams working in. But to me, on the edge, the early down guys I think are going to be Rousseau, Epinesa, and Smoot. And then I think the Buffalo Bills are going to have two sort of like pass rush specialists. One of them is going to be Von Miller, who they're probably going to want to not overdo, especially early in the season. And the other is the rookie 5th round pick, Javon Solomon. I think that he is probably, they're going to probably want to keep him on the roster. They're probably going to want to try to find a niche role for him. And I think on obvious passing downs, you can probably put Javon Solomon onto the football field year one. So the combination of Rousseau, Epinesa, and Smoot early, and those guys can all contribute on later downs, passing downs too. And then the specialist, Von Miller, Javon Solomon, I think that will help the Buffalo Bills somewhat recreate the success they had with the pass rush in 2023.
Yeah, and I love the Javon Solomon pick, right? Because stylistically, he kind of lines up more with what Von Miller does, right? And, you know, obviously led the nation in, like, we know all that. We went through all that. But if you're talking about like a guy that complement the early down guys like Smoot and Epinesa and Rousseau, like Solomon's a nice compliment to have with Von Miller on that back end. And what it allows you to do really is on early downs, you can kind of rotate that right end between Smoot and Epinesa if you want to. I think Epinesa will get first shot, but then you could come up with some type of, you know, packages on third downs where maybe it's Epinesa, Miller, and Solomon, and then not Ed Oliver or something like that on the field to give you your best pass rushers all on the field at the same time. Because in my mind, those are your 4 best pass rushers that you have on the team potentially. You know, nothing against Greg Rousseau, but I think Epinesa is a better pass rusher than Greg Rousseau right now at this stage. And between him, Oliver led the team in sacks last year. Solomon, who's got that pure sort of pass rushing ability, and Von Miller, that could provide you some interesting options, I think, on the passing down. So I would agree with you.
The Bills finished 4th in the NFL in sacks in 2023 with 54, 6 behind the league leading Ravens. Where would you set the bar for sacks in 2024? If it's 50, that would be an average of 3 sacks a game. If it's 43, that would be an average of 2.5 a game. And 34, would be an average of 2 sacks a game. Which area are we looking at? Are we looking to recreate what we did in 2024 or excuse me, 2023? Or maybe are the expectations a little less than? And if so, is it the 43, 2.5 range, or is it the 34, 2 a game range?
Yeah, it's interesting because you start to, like, think about it, like, at 54, they were 4th in the NFL, but, like,
Mm,
where do the teams kind of behind that fall in and sort of, like, what is the middle range of the NFL last year in sacks? And it was right about 45, right?
mhm,
45 would have put you right at the middle. 44, 45 would have put you right about middle of the pack in the NFL. And then as you drop into sort of the low 40s and then high 30s, that's where you get into the bottom half of the NFL.
mhm,
Look, I think 54. I don't know. Right now I don't see them getting to 54 again. I
mhm.
just I don't. But I could see them in that 45 to maybe pushing 50 range.
Yep.
But if I was going to be a betting man right now, I'd put them probably in that 44 to 48 range
Mhm,
sacks because I still think they can get home. I still think they're going to be able to get guys like Bernard, who is a known, blitzer, had the 5 sacks or whatever he had
mhm,
last year. I think Rousseau and Epinesa will get their cleanup sacks from pressure
mhm,
from Oliver up the middle. Oliver himself had 9.5 last year. He'll get some. Maybe Cole Bishop as a rookie who's really good around the line of scrimmage. Taylor Rapp around the line of scrimmage can kind of like replace some of what the Bills did as well. But their safeties didn't really have a
mhm.
ton of sacks as a group last year. So maybe there's a little more coming from that group. I'm saying the 44 to 48 range. That's kind of where I'm vibing right now with the team total.
I'll tell you what, at first I was a little cautious and I was going to agree with your take, somewhere in the 45 range. But then I got to thinking, the standard is the standard, the old Mike Tomlin saying, right? And the Buffalo Bills set a standard in 2023. And I think they can, if Rousseau and Epinesa stay healthy, I think that they can meet that standard. I think they can match that standard. Leonard Floyd in 2024 had 41 pressures, 12 sacks, 7 hits, and 22 hurries. That's essentially what you're trying to replace. So if you're the Buffalo Bills, you're trying to replace 41 pressures, 12 sacks, 7 hits, and 22 hurries in the aggregate. Von Miller and Dwayne Smoot are the two guys that I think you're going to want to try to replace those 12 sacks with. That means Von Miller just needs to get you 6 sacks, and Dwayne Smoot just needs to get you 6 sacks. And if you think about it, Von Miller, is now going to be almost 2 years removed from his ACL injury. And in 12 games in 2022, he gave you 45 pressures, 8 sacks, 4 hits, 33 hurries. And, what Von Miller has done typically throughout his career, 7 of those 33 hurries came against the Kansas City Chiefs before he got hurt, right? So, Von Miller, get me 6 sacks. Then Dwayne Smoot, who the last time he was healthy, right, was the 2022 season. So he's a year removed from his ACL injury. And in that
Mm,
2022 season, he had 36 pressures, 6 sacks, 6 hits, 24 hurries. The season before, with 10 starts, he had 50 pressures, 7 sacks, 10 hits, 33 hurries. I don't think it's out of this world to expect Von Miller to get you 6 sacks, Dwayne Smoot to get you 6 sacks, each of them to get you 20 pressures. And then all of a sudden, you have replaced Leonard Floyd in the aggregate. And everything that Leonard Floyd gave you, you just replaced with the combination of Von Miller and Dwayne Smoot. Not to mention, Leonard Floyd was completely invisible after the bye week last season. Literally after week 11, Leonard Floyd had no sacks, including the postseason. He went AWOL. So it's not that hard to match the second half production of Leonard Floyd. Literally anyone with a pulse could probably do it.
yeah, and then you start to look at some of the secondary sort of rushers on the team,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got, Epinesa had the 6.5 last year.
Yep.
Rousseau had 5. You expect that they could probably at least replicate that. You did get 6.5 sacks out of Terrell Bernard. If he plays at an all-pro caliber level, maybe he can
Mm-hmm.
he can replicate that. And then you kind of had some Jordan Phillips at 2.5, Daquan Jones at 2.5, and then a bunch of guys with 1. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I love the optimism. I think it's
Yeah.
possible. I do think it's possible, but I'm going a little bit more cautious as I normally do with these types of things, and I'll say 44 to 48 range.
So I don't know if you had a chance to do this exercise because we kind of talked about we kind of didn't. Did you project sack totals for each player in your show notes this week?
I didn't project sack totals for each
Mhm.
player, like, down to the individual
Mhm.
number, but in my notes, I have, Von Miller had 0 last year. Can he come close to what Floyd provided?
Yeah.
And then I had, basically saying, like, how are they gonna replace the sacks they were gonna
Yeah.
get from, like, each position group, I guess, right?
Mhm.
Secondary, linebackers, and defensive line. So I didn't go to each individual
Yeah.
player.
I did a little bit of number crunching and projecting here. And if Gregory Rousseau takes that next leap like we all expect and has a big year, say he gets 12 sacks. AJ Epinesa, he gets more run. He adds a couple extra sacks. He's got 8 sacks. Ed Oliver from the interior contributes 8 sacks. And then Von Miller and Dwayne Smoot give you 6 apiece. If Rousseau can give you 12, Epinesa can give you 8, Oliver 8, Miller and Smoot 6 apiece, that's 40. So you just need 10 from all the rest of your edge rotation, all the rest of your defensive tackles, linebackers, and corners. So I think 50 could be doable with that projection if all of the guys who need to step up in Rousseau, Epinesa, if the guy who has stepped up continues to step up in Ed Oliver, and Miller and Smoot just somewhat regain their form from years past. I think that is your path for the Buffalo Bills reaching 50 sacks in 2024.
And how much should we consider this comment
Mhm.
in consideration, considering the schedule, facing better
That's true.
quarterbacks this season than last? And I think for me, I did take that into consideration with sacks, but I would say I more so took it into consideration for interceptions.
Yeah.
But that is a fair point from Tom Slade there.
This segment is from the Air Raid Hour podcast. The full show is live every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the Cover One YouTube channel. Don't miss out!